Andor isn't just another Star Wars show. There are no Jedi, no Sith, there isn't even a lightsaber. From the very first episode, the Empire is obvious. It's in control of everything. But it seems like people got used to that tyranny that the Empire has brought. But in Andor, we are being shown that even if you close your eyes on the Empire's crimes and try to stay silent, just live a normal life, the regime won't let you do that. For them, you're just a disposable resource, and it's just a matter of time when and how you'll die. People in this story aren't rebels. Not at first. They're just trying to live, to stay out of the way, to avoid trouble, to survive. But the Empire doesn't let them. Friends disappear, people get tortured, arrested, public executions became normal. Whole towns are punished for just trying to resist. Even if you've never seen a Star Wars movie before, Andor will still be interesting to you. The parallels to the real life are so realistic that you'll wonder if you're actually watching a Star Wars TV show. And I'm going to convince you why Andor is so special. By the end of Season 1, the pressure doesn't just build up, it crushes people. But in that pressure, something changes. After arrests, massacres, and constant fear, people stop waiting for things to get better. They realize that they can't take it any longer. They decide that it's worth at least trying to resist. They start to understand doing nothing is just another way of dying, or like Cassian said,
I'd rather die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want.
that's what Andor is about. They're just regular people who have had enough and decide that they won't go out quietly. We already know how Cassian Andor's story ends. He dies in Rogue One, so what is the point of watching a show about him? Well, Andor isn't just about how it ends, it's about how he got there, how someone who didn't care ended up fighting for something bigger. It's about the small steps that turned into a choice, and that choice turns into sacrifice. Andor shows us people who are far from perfect. They make hard, sometimes questionable decisions. You don't always agree with them, and that's the point. These characters are doing what they think they have to do to fight the Empire, no matter the cost. And the characters in Andor are really special. In this video, I would like to talk about the most interesting and important characters of Andor. So let's talk about them. One of these characters is Luthen Rael. Luthen isn't just a freedom fighter in the usual sense. He's a man who has already accepted the price of rebellion. His sacrifices aren't loud or visible, but they are deep.
So what do I sacrifice? Everything!
He operates in shadows, makes ruthless decisions, and gives everything without expecting recognition.
I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
But it won't surprise you because Luthen himself was once a soldier fighting for the Empire and committing war crimes in the name of it.
Stop rushing the news, make it stop. Rush the news, make it stop!
Luthen's decisions might seem a bit extreme, like choices that most people would not agree with, but in Andor, that's not what happens. As the show progresses, we don't feel hatred or anger toward him. Instead, with every episode, we are drawn deeper into his war. We begin to understand him, to justify his actions.
What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them.
His partnership with Kleya is more than practical. She's not just his assistant, she's the only one who truly understands him, because she was raised by him. Luthen is like her father. He taught her how to survive in this cruel world. By the time of Luthen's death, it hits hard. You actually feel sorry for him. for how much he sacrificed for the Rebel Alliance, and yet, even after all he's done, the same rebels don't truly appreciate his contribution.
And I made my choice 2 years ago to join here and be part of this. But none of that can take away what he did and how hard it was. But it's insulting to hear him run down by people who have given a fraction of his sacrifice to this rebellion.
Enough!
According to the unwritten rules of film and TV, Luthen had more reasons to die than you might think, especially after one particular decision in the end of Season 2. Lani was working for Luthen for years. He was a spy buried deep within the Empire's ranks. He had risked his life and the safety of his family to pass on vital intel about top-secret Imperial weapon. The show never says it out loud, but it shows that from that moment on, Luthen's fate was sealed. Then there are characters like Kinoloy, just a regular man who obeys orders, and when we are first introduced to him, we realize that he's the complete opposite of characters like Luthen. He appears halfway through the first season, yet leaves one of the most lasting emotional impressions. At first, Kino might not seem like a revolutionary, but he is a man who accepts the system and is only focused on surviving his prison sentence. He follows the rules, makes sure that others follow them too, and believes that if he cooperates, he'll eventually be released. For him, resistance is a dangerous illusion. It only leads to pain or death. His life is all about numbers, schedules, and knowing when things will be over. But that illusion ends when he learns the truth. No one is getting out. The system isn't just cruel. It's a lie designed to destroy people. In one of the most powerful performances of the show, the man who used to make people keep quiet becomes the voice that stands up for the people who are being treated unfairly. Kinoloy's journey isn't just about standing up against authority. It's also about the heartbreak that comes when you realize your life has been stolen from you, and the courage it takes to fight for something more.
We will never have a better chance than this. And I would rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want.
Talking about the characters, we can't forget about Cyril, one of the most important characters, if not the most important characters in the show. Without him, the entire plot would be impossible, and he's the main key to the development of the plot. After Cassian Andor almost ruins his career and leaves him in disgrace, that belief turns into obsession. Cyril starts as an ambitious, rule-bound security officer, obsessed with order, control, and a very personal sense of justice. He's driven by shame, pride, and a desperate need for validation. As the show enters Season 2, we see how the relationship between him and Dedra Meero, the ISB officer who he saved back on Ferrix, progresses. First, their relationship seems really awkward and weird. It's like watching two robots trying to mimic human, but at some point you'll notice that despite the awkwardness of their relationship, it is based on love. But what connects them even more is their job. They're focused on finding the Axis, hunting down Cassian Andor, and try to maintain order in every part of the galaxy. They are starting working together on the undercover Gorman project. As part of Dedra's assignment to the project, Meero arranged for Cyril to be transferred to the Standards Bureau's branch on the planet Gorman. At her request, Cyril worked to infiltrate the so-called Gorman Front, a resistance group formed out of Gorman citizens who have been through a lot since the Empire's presence on the planet. The protests against the Empire on Gorman are ongoing, and the resistance group is conducting underground activities in cooperation with other rebels. With ISB approval, Cyril helped them procure weapons and evidence of hostile Imperial activity on the planet. However, Cyril was unaware of the true purpose of the Gorman operation. He had believed that his mission was to capture outside agitators.
You dare walk among us! All this time, you... How could we be so foolish? Mention no why.
Unfortunately, the protests on Gorman ended in an Empire-induced massacre. And bloodshed of a large number of civilians. Some of the civilians were part of a resistance group carrying weapons they had stolen earlier to defend themselves in times of need. But it didn't stop the Empire of killing everyone at the protest. Seeing all of the people that he lived among for years lying dead on the streets made Cyril realize that all he has been working on was to serve the regime that only brings pain and sorrow. Amid the chaos and constant gunfire, Cyril spots Cassian Andor, the man he's hunted for years, arriving in Gorman with one goal: to kill Cyril's partner, Dejamiro. Overwhelmed by rage, confusion, and a desperate need to place blame for the massacre of civilians on anyone but the Empire, Cyril makes a choice. He throws himself into the fight, attacking Cassian. In the final moments of their struggle, Cyril grabs Cassian's weapon, turning it on him. For a second, everything goes still. Cassian looks at him and simply asks,
Who are you?
making Cyril in this moment doubt every decision that he had ever made. But unfortunately for him, it is already too late. While fighting the war against the Empire, the most significant part of it is politics. The only person in the whole Senate who stands against Empire's rules, Mon Mothma. Unlike Luthen, Mon Mothma has to live every day pretending. Even in her own home, she leads a double life that's slowly breaking her from the inside. She truly believes the Empire is evil and must be resisted. And she's willing to make the hardest sacrifice for the Rebel Alliance, using her own daughter as a pawn. She agrees to let Davos Kaldan, a shady banker, arrange a meeting between his son and her daughter. In return, he'll cover up the sudden disappearance of 400,000 credits from a secret account set up by her old friend, Tay Kolma. That money was meant to support the rebellion. Now, to protect the cause, Mon is putting her family on the line. As the marriage arrangement moves forward, Tay starts to break down. His wife leaves him, he begins drinking, his businesses collapse, and the Empire starts investigating the foundation he used to move rebel funds. He tells Mon he regrets helping her. He says the rebel activity is hurting his businesses, and seeing how well things seem to be going for Mon, he begins to think she lied to him from the start. Eventually, he tries to blackmail her. Mon Mothma passes this information to Luthen, and then he handles the situation in his own way. After the massacre in Gorman, everything changes. The Empire tightens its grip, and Mon Mothma realizes she can't keep pretending. The surveillance gets worse, the danger becomes real, so she makes a choice to speak out in the Senate about what happened, to tell the truth, and then escape to Yavin, where the rebels are already waiting for her. There, she'll continue the fight. No more hiding, no more lies, just open resistance, leading the Alliance for real. Season 2 opens with Cassian Andor infiltrating an Imperial base to steal a prototype TIE fighter. Expecting to fly a model he's trained on, he quickly realizes that it's a different plane. Despite this, he manages to escape with the ship. He lands on a jungle moon, expecting to meet his friend, but his friend is not there, and Cassian is getting captured by the disorganized Maya Pay Brigade that have gone crazy and wants to use Cassian's ship and him as a pilot who knows how to fly it to escape the planet. But the internal conflicts among the rebels provide Cassian an opportunity to escape. He then heads to Minorao, where he's supposed to meet Biggs, Brasso, and Willman, who are hiding from the Empire on a farm and waiting for Cassian, who is coming late, while they have no documents. They live in a constant wait of Imperial interrogation that finally comes one day, during which an Imperial officer tried to rape Biggs, but she fought back, resulting in his death. During the ensuing chaos, Brasso is killed by a stormtrooper. Cassian arrives on the TIE fighter, eliminates the Imperial troops, and escapes with Biggs and Willman. In the next episode, we see Cassian and Biggs living in Coruscant, in an apartment provided by Luthen. Biggs is severely inflicted by what happened to her on Minorao and back on Ferrix during the Dr. Garst's torture. They are trying to get used to the life when they don't have to kill in order to survive, and Cassian is trying to step back from working for Luthen, but that's when Luthen needs him to travel to Gorman under a secret identity to meet the local head of the Resistance. The meeting doesn't end well. Gormans are enthusiastic but not ready for any real action. Cassian comes back to Coruscant. We later see that Biggs and Cassian locate Dr. Gorst on a Coruscant, and Biggs is using the same sonic device on him until he dies. The scene marks a turning point in Biggs' recovery arc. 1 year later, we see Cassian and Biggs living on Yavin, among other rebels, and Willman delivers to Cassian the intel about Dedramira's appearance on Gorman. One part of Cassian wants to go and avenge his friends by killing her, and the other part wants to stay on Yavin with Biggs. Cassian chooses first. He arrives on Gorman for the second time in his life, stays in the same hotel as the first time to attempt to kill Dedra at night. Unfortunately, he realizes that the whole city center is being monitored by stormtroopers. Some even stand on the building roofs that won't allow to escape after the shot. On the next morning, Cassian checks out of the hotel, seeing a massive protest on the streets of Gorman, feeling that something will go wrong. And when it did, and Gorman massacre began, Cassian still had to make that shot. And right when he had it, he was stopped by Cyril Karn, who attacked him and started a fight that almost ended in Cassian's death. Thankfully to the head of the Resistance that shot Cyril in the head, Cassian survived and left the planet later, while helping Willman and other Gorman rebels fight back the stormtroopers. He obtained the KX unit droid, who later was reprogrammed and became K2SO.
Hello. If I've offended you, I apologize. If not, I'd appreciate you pointing that elsewhere.
But before delivering the droid to Yavin, Cassian had received one more task from Luthen, to help escape Mon Mothma from the Senate after her speech and bring her to a safe place on Coruscant so she can travel to Yavin. The whole escape from the Senate wasn't really that smooth, resulting in some interesting plot twists and him killing Mon Mothma's new driver who was working for the ISB in a matter of seconds.
Name.
Cloris!
Cloris! Cloris!
What are you doing?
We found her!
And who are you?
Hey, look at me! Hey, look at me!
Upon the arrival on Yavin, Cassian learns that Biggs had left him by leaving him a note. The last and the most important job that Cassian had in the TV show is when Willman received an SOS message from Clea that has managed to send it from the device hidden in the walls of the apartment that Cassian and Biggs used to live at. The message was unfortunately intercepted by the ISB, who were preparing forces to storm the place. Cassian takes his friend Melshi and K2SO on that mission. Arriving earlier than the ISB, they meet Clea, who tells them about Empire's plan on building a superweapon. Minutes later, we see them leaving, while the ISB officers have already made it to their floor. A gunfight starts, almost resulting in them losing it, and almost killing Clea by a flash grenade. But fortunately for them, K2SO, who was left in the ship, eliminated every ISB agent by attacking them in the back and saving Cassian, Melshi, and Clea.
Cassian, I've cleared a path.
They safely escape back to Yavin, and Cassian reports the obtained information to the Senate, who doesn't believe him, except Senator Mothma and General Draven. Later, General Draven tells Cassian that an important informant Tivik, located at the Ring of Kafrene, wants to speak with Cassian, and only him. And the rest, we all know.
Rogue One, may the Force be with you.
And you know, guys, that's what Andor does so well. It doesn't rely on long, drawn-out dialogue that leads to no conclusion to explain everything. Big moments like when someone dies don't come with dramatic speeches. There's no need for them. You get what's happening just by watching. The silence, the looks, the actions. It's all clear without anyone having to say much. Or vice versa. Death, as in real life, of your friend or beloved, can come so quickly that you cannot afford to waste time on talk or tears. That's what makes it feel so real. Not gonna lie, the start of Season 2 felt pretty slow. Despite the fact that the first episode of Season 2 had quite a bit of action, the further developments were a bit slow. And I don't just mean the first couple of episodes. I'm talking like the first 7. And it's not just my subjective opinion. If you look up the ratings of the first 7 episodes of Season 2, you'll notice that they are lower than the last 5. I get it, you need screen time to develop characters. And yeah, sometimes that means longer conversations. Some of those moments worked, some dialogues were quite interesting. They would have given us a hint about the character's past, or how they relate to others in the story. But honestly, some of them just dragged. Not all of it, but enough to notice. And what made it worse is that Andor usually shines when it shows, not tells. Just as I said before, the writing is at its best when it's subtle, when no one explains anything, but you still feel everything. Like when Clea broke into the hospital to make sure that wounded Luthen doesn't survive. In that whole moment, we as viewers just absorbed her. That's what the creators of Andor do best. Luckily, the slow parts didn't last forever, and there weren't that many of them. But still, so far, Andor is the best Star Wars content to ever exist, and one of the best TV shows at all. Thank you for watching. Bye.